parent of neurodivergent kids that travel. So thank you.
And she is also Miss Wheelchair Texas, in case you haven't noticed. Just see. And she's here in her full regalia. So she's a mother of a child on the spectrum.
I've got 2 on the spectrum. And
Well, just use the mic here. So just.
I'm just going to leave that picture up because I'm not really doing the full presentation. So can I use one of those?
Yeah, you can use this or.
So, hi everyone, I'm Kristy Durso. I'm the owner of Incredible Memories Travel and also the mom of 3 amazing kids. You can see them in the photo there. My oldest there, she is 21 and she is on the spectrum and she has 27 food allergies and the same genetic condition I do. Actually, it just recently dropped. She only has 23 now. The next one, so traveling with her is very complicated. She has to have a plan. She has to know everything in advance, and if that plan changes, good golly, we're in for a ride. The next one, making that very fun face there, is Reese. He is 20 years old, and he is on the spectrum, and quite possibly the most black and white person you will ever meet in your entire life. No, this is what it says, so this is what we're doing, and we cannot possibly diverge from that because this is what's written. It is written, so it shall be done. Absolutely. And then we have Timothy there, and Timothy is very special. We adopted him out of the foster care system when he was, we finalized at 3, began fostering him at 18 months, and he has profound fetal alcohol syndrome. So he is cognitively and intellectually disabled and definitely our most high needs, but all of them have their own needs. The 2 older ones come by it honestly because their mother is also on the spectrum. So it's a roller coaster some days. We joke, my husband jokes about being the only neurotypical person in a neurodiverse house and swears he's going to write a book one day. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about what traveling with a neurodiverse family is like. And it starts way at the beginning. Having that plan and having to plan every single detail and worrying about every single detail. Because we start with figuring out where we're going to go. Where can we go that is going to accommodate everybody's special diet, that is going to be low sensory enough to accommodate all of our needs, and that is going to be understanding when we have the inevitable meltdowns. So we have to start with picking that location. Once we finally decide on that, and there are a few favorites, we have Walt Disney World, Universal, beaches, resorts, just to start us off. Once we finalize that location, then we have to start planning our flight. And let me tell you, traveling with neurodiversity on a plane can be really complicated. As a mom, I worry about that person in front of me and how many times they're going to kick that seat. And and those kids, they don't know, especially Timothy, has no concept of waiting and being patient and sitting there the entire flight, wanting to get off the plane, wanting to have that plan. And if there is a delay, that causes anxiety across everybody because we've now deviated from the plan. The plan was X, now we're on Y, now we might be on Z, and that can be a nightmare. So we always call ahead of time. We call the special assistance line to the airline, and we get our seat selection ahead of time. And I have learned, and I do this for my clients, 2 in one row, the other people in front. So Timothy always sits next to the window, and then I sit next to him, and then everybody else sits in front. So the only seat he's kicking is his siblings, and siblings are allowed to annoy each other. So he sits and kicks their seat the entire time. But it's a way for me to take that pressure off of worrying about, am I going to be distracting another passenger and annoying another passenger the entire flight? And we accommodate that by making sure that we're only causing that distraction and annoying our own family members. So we finally get to our destination, and now we need to figure out transportation. Getting from the airport to a destination, especially because I'm also a wheelchair user, can be really tricky, and coordinating that ahead of time is incredibly critical for a family with a disability. And if you have a flight delay, I was in Charlotte a week ago, not one single accessible taxi. If I had not been able to transfer, I would have been stuck in the airport overnight. And that is a worst nightmare situation for a wheelchair user. And then if I had had my children with me, if I'd had Timothy or Reese or Davlin, any of them, that would have been an absolute nightmare. And there are a lot of families with multiple disabilities in their family that this is their concern. This is our reality. Not one single accessible vehicle. So the entire plan had to change. We had to figure out something else for me. And we were able to make that arrangement. But that's the kind of thing that we had to face when looking at transportation. Is there an alternative? And then finding the alternative to the alternative and the alternative to that, so that we're prepared for multiple scenarios. And having a communication with that driver ahead of time is critical, because by that point, you've already been traveling for hours upon hours, and it is during that transition period is where we tend to have the most meltdowns. We tend to have the most kind of moments. So that doesn't really go very well unless we've really prepped for it. So we finally get that all taken care of and arrive at the property. And if I've done my homework correctly, I've already contacted the property and done everything I can to check in ahead of time, because imagine trying to check in when you have 3 neurodivergent children all sitting there pulling on you. Are we done? Can we go now? We're here. Why aren't we in our room yet? What's next? Can we finish this now? Why is there a line? Why am I here? And on until that process is over. So we want to be able to get through that as quickly as possible. So that's where the phone calls come in. Can we have an expedited check-in? Is there someone at the counter who, when they see us coming, because we're not exactly a small operation, that can kind of take us aside and let us get through this process just a little bit quicker? And a lot of times that works really well for us. I love mobile check-ins. Those are the best thing ever. Thank you, everybody who does that. It is a huge lifesaver. To be able to go directly to the room is just amazing. It's truly amazing, especially if you've got one who's actively melting down on the way. We don't want to be a disturbance to everyone else, and we don't want to continue that meltdown right there in public. So it's nice to be able to go all the way to the room. Since we're in Orlando, I'll talk about visiting the parks. So you have a child who is neurodivergent. Some of them don't speak, some of them do, and we have a speaker. Timothy is, so he has no concept of time, no concept of waiting in line. So if we find out that we're going on an attraction, whether we wait in the line or not, the next hour is something like this. Hey, did you know we're going on a ride? We're going on this ride. Did you know we're going on this ride? We're going on the ride. For an hour and a half, until we're all about to die and we're ready to go home. Thankfully, both Universal and Disney World have accommodations for people with neurodivergencies. They both have DAS passes and similar things that really helps expedite that process. And being able to plan ahead and take care of that ahead of time, again, one of those life-saving things for us. And the same thing can happen in other locations. We want to communicate with them and take care of all of those issues ahead of time, letting people know, going to a restaurant, calling ahead even if they don't have reservations, and saying, hey, we've got a child who cannot wait. Could you please set aside a table? We'll be there at this time, and we'll take that accommodation. And learning how to teach other people to advocate has really just been my passion for the last several years. And I am out of time, so I hope you enjoyed my family's story of travel. I'd love to talk to you about Miss Wheelchair Texas, or traveling with neurodiversities, wheelchairs, or special diets. And I will talk to you all later, I hope. So.